Alright, BVGA. Earlier model, this is 04. This one here goes up to 06. 17's on your banjo bolts for your cooler lines. $10 millimeters. There's usually 10 millimeter on this bracket. I marked my speed sensors and my pressure switches for the location that they were in. You can even mark these if you want to, but the browns are the same, the blacks are the same. I don't really care if I get them mixed up. Just use a crescent wrench to get these off. And this spin-on filter, some have spin-on filters, some have push-ins. If it had a push-in filter, it'd have a little housing here and 3 bolts, 3 tins that hold it in. And in behind the filter is a spring. Blacks go on the top, or black here, brown, black, brown. 3 tubes here. This is like a vent. Not really a vent. It squirts oil up in there and cools that solenoid down. You don't always get this gasket in the kit, so try not to rip it. There's a pipe in here. $14mm on the case bolts. If the bolt ever starts seizing up on you like that, don't never stop. Just keep going until it either rips the threads out or it breaks. It's not going to get any better. And usually if you don't stop, it won't totally seize up on you. It'll just take the threads out, and that's easier to fix than a broken bolt. If you stop in the middle of it, what ends up happening is it seizes up, and then you're going to end up more than likely breaking the bolt. $10mm. There's little lips around here that you can get on and knock this cover up. Feed pipe comes out, just stick it back in there. I always just leave these pipes in there. Do take this out. Come on now, go back down in your hole. A little clip right here. I just leave this stuff in there. Take that clip out, that cap. Little spring. 12s. A little pin, a washer, 2 caged bearings. That's your reverse idler. You just kind of pick it up and move it back towards you. Inch and 5/16. This one's going to be right-handed. These two are left-handed. again, if they start seizing up on you, just keep going. If one's going to seize up on you, it's usually this one back here on the secondary shaft. And then you can just grind the threads down and still use it as long as it doesn't mess up too much of it. And the way I do this is you're going to have to hit this straight. Don't come off to the side because you're going to mess the threads up. But just give it a couple whacks right there. And I got 2 heel bars that they're adjustable. I just get under there. I have to give it a couple more. I don't think I loosened it enough. There we go. There's another washer in there. And just get up underneath these gears. I do the same thing. If it chips these, you can fix them. You'll usually hear it if it chips it. And give this one a whack. Now on this one here, use an air hammer with a bit like that. And just get right there. Use these zip ties to hold all my stuff together. Makes it quicker. I've been using this set of zip ties right here for probably, I don't know, 8-9 years. And I've had to throw a few away, but if they start getting too loose and not wanting to hold, just get the little pocket screwdriver and bend that tab back up, and usually they'll keep on working. Bend this little tab up right here. And it's a 10mm. Pull it all the way over to the low position. There's a little roll pin in there. It's got to line up with the slot in the case, or you're not going to get your case half off. Yeah. I got a screwdriver. I'm going to get right here. Actually, this one I'm going to use on the back side. This one here, I'm going to use right here. On the back side here, I'm going to get on this little ledge right here, pop up on the case here. On the ones that are not all-wheel drive, you can get this on the case right down here. washer on the back of the case here. Usually stays in there. This tube usually stays in. Goes right up here in the top. This tube goes right here. Make sure our bearings are okay. Usually this one in the case is getting to where it's a little loose. I know a lot of people change them out. I have yet to change one out unless it's just super bad. And there's another tab right here. I need to knock this out. $10mm. This is our reverse 5th. And a fork. Notice the orientation. This step goes towards the gear. You notice that on the slider, the step goes towards the gear. Make sure that you keep that in mind if you're not going to always just zip tie all this stuff together. But if you do drop it, you need to know which way it goes. This bearing right here is the one that likes to go bad. There's 2 cage bearings here, flat bearing, and a washer that's splined. Got a washer, flat bearing, 2 cage bearings, flat bearing and a sleeve. And when I put these in there, I always pull this back out so that it can get nice and clean in there. Here's our input shaft. Usually I have yet to find any of this stuff bad. There's a flat bearing, cage bearing, flat bearing, and a washer. It's got a step. There's a reverse idler gear that goes up in here and fell out. Set this over to the side. Now I got our counter shaft. Make sure everything's good there. There's our secondary shaft. Need a pair of pliers. A retainer, 2 half-moon little keepers here. I keep these out of the parts basket. They tend to fly away and get lost, so I keep them on the bench over here. Here's 2 cage bearings, flat bearing, and a washer. And usually this is almost always bad. You see how much it's spinning right there? That's not very good. I mean, it'll still work, but this might start giving you problems, and when you're coming up to a stop, it wanting to neutralize. So I always replace this, and I do it on every one. You can use the early 700 input sprag if you want to. They're a little bit cheaper. I get a bushing grabber, knock the hub off. Make sure we're getting a good point down here. There's a snap ring in here. Now mark your gear. It's turning clockwise and locking counterclockwise, so I just mark it on here. And get a punch, knock this bearing out. There we go. Some of these have a little lip on the bearing, so pay attention to the ones that do. It's got to face back down. Here's our sprag. Another flat bearing here. Our differential. Bearings are okay. No chipped teeth, and usually there's not. There's a shim that goes on top of the gear here for our all-wheel drive. Let's see if we can get an overhead view of this, or close to it. Move this out the way. Alright, 10 millimeters. Make sure we're down far enough. Hard to tell where this is really pointing. Make sure we get this all. You got dowel pins on each layer. A pin for our stator shaft. Separator plate. There's a spring and ball here. I just leave it in there until I go through the valve box. Dowel pins here. Sometimes they don't come out. If they don't come out, I just leave them. The reverse and fifth detents. Filter. Another separator plate. another separator plate. 12s on here. There's a little plunger and spring under here. Alright, pull your linkage up as you're pulling up the valve body. Just set it off to the side, then look in here where the little gear goes and make sure it's not all eat up in here. That's usually where it's eat up. Pin, there are 2 gears. Make sure our bearing for the converter is okay. Another separator plate. There's a dowel pin that goes down here. It usually sticks in the back of the valve body. Pull your dowel pins out of the case. There's 3 of them. Go here, here, and here. And on this one here is a different length. I believe it is this unit. Let's make sure. Nope, it's not this unit. I don't know which one I'm thinking of, but there is one where this one is different. Let that drain. I'm gonna take our drums apart. And I just keep the snap ring that came off of the clutch pack with it, just makes it quicker. There's our piston and return spring for that one. Two pistons in this one. Here's your return spring and retainer. Now this drum here, I mark one side of it. You can mark it however you want to. I always put an X so I know which side it goes on. that separate. Keep everything that come off that one side all together. Just keep all this together because I know it all goes to that drum. This drum here is usually the one that's burnt up, and this one's okay. They do sell the snap ring or retainer and the return spring for it. Usually what happens is when it gets burnt up enough, it comes down, it compresses this enough that this piston starts spinning in there, and it just rips that spring and the retainer and the snap ring all to pieces. Alright, let me go find out what my converter code is, and we'll write this. Alright, here's what we're going to do on this one. If I can quit bouncing here. LS kit, internal filter, external filter, screw in. Valve body plug kit from Sonax. The Honda LK1 kit from Younger, or Transgo. Early 700 overdrive sprag. Always put a cooler on it. I really recommend that you put a cooler and a radiator. They like to bypass the radiator and go with the cooler, so that's what we're going to do. The torque converter is an 8E, and we'll get this one sold and get going on it.